Hi, I'm Christine Hyung-Oak Lee, and I'm going to be reading from my novel, my forthcoming novel called The Golem of Soul, and this is an excerpt from it. He knew folks who would open their eyes immediately upon being thrown out of a car in the middle of nowhere, gotten the lay of the land, a possible glimpse of the car, and hatched an escape plan. But Yong kept his eyes closed until the sound of tires on gravel and the timpani of car engine long faded, because possum is what he played in times of stress. He laid there, blind to the world and without shame, until the dust finished raining down. When he opened his eyes, there were no buildings, no signs, no road, not even an airplane flying overhead. Behind him was a meadow, the tall grass bent into tire tracks, and in front of him, dark against the moonlight, a forest of trees, each indistinguishable from the others in one large mass, from which a white rabbit emerged. "Get out of the open and into the forest." The rabbit's voice reminded him of dewdrops, bright and trembling. "Did you just speak?" "Yes, haven't you heard a rabbit before? Get the hell out of the meadow and into the forest. It's dangerous out here." "But rabbits don't speak," he gasped, running into the forest, losing the rabbit to speed and to the underbrush, no matter how quickly he stumbled forward on his hands and feet. Once in the forest, Yong slowed. He could smell the mildew of a forest floor that felt like a damp and chilled soft carpet underneath his feet at one point, and prickly the next, as he walked over moss one moment and crispy leaves. There was a metallic smell in the urgent wind that told him rain was coming. In the lulls between the gusts of wind, Yong could smell bear, a deer around the bend, the berries on a bush yards away, and rodent urine. He paused. How was it he could discern the difference between bear and deer smell? And since when did berries smell so delicious? Before he could ponder the reasons for his sharpened awareness, the idea of those berries swelled to epic proportions in his mind, shoving out all other thought. He barreled forward, still blind in the nighttime, but knowing exactly where it was those berries resided. He heard the snap of sticks and the swishing sound of branches as he shoved through the forest. There was no other sound, he noted. No car horns, no jackhammers, no generator humming in the distance, no roar of human din, just him. Each sound he made exploded in the darkness. He got to the berries and began to shovel them into his face, the berries exploding like roe in his mouth. He paused. Roe. He wondered if there were any fish roe to be had here. And after cocking his head and concluding that the burble of water was absent in his proximity, he resumed feasting. The berries were so good that Yong ate handful after handful without vanity until satiated. He could feel the juice dribbling from his chin. Yong anticipated dawn. He turned his head this way and that, but on this particular moonless night, he could not discern rock from tree from shrubbery. Because it was still too dark to see, he took a deep sniff to assess his surroundings. This time, he smelled a tiger. How he knew it was a tiger, he could not say, but still, he was certain. Since his childhood days in the forest with his brother Taesang, Korean tigers had become extinct. The last of the tigers were pushed out by humans and taken to zoos where they all eventually died. Yong tensed himself, but an inherent apathy forced himself to relax. Oh well, he thought. He sat with his full belly, surrounded in a shower of crescendoing bird sound, until the silhouettes of trees and rocks began to appear and then sharpen against the brightening dawn. He waited with a dull patience like moviegoers at a theater waiting for a film to begin, shoving popcorn into their mouths with an absent-minded, focus-at-infinity stare. The smell of tiger never dissipated, but instead settled into the landscape like fog, finding its way into every crevice such that Young became uncertain as to the exact direction of the tiger's whereabouts. Still, he felt no fear. When the light came, he thought he could discern his immediate surroundings, but found there was not a single road sign or building on the horizon that could tell him where he actually was. Instead, he saw the tiger sitting on the low branches of a tree, licking its paw. His orange and black jagged stripes rippled with every graceful movement. "Hello, Mr. Bear," said the tiger. His voice was surprisingly high-pitched with a bit of a squeak. The voice didn't match the body. Young expected the liquid voice of a baritone singer, but more surprising to Young was that he addressed him as Mr. Bear. Mr. Bear? Asked Young. Why are you calling me Mr. Bear? Because that's what you are, a bear.